join in on the fun and grab your glue gun. It's the Preppy Crafty Girl Show.
Everyone, welcome to hashtag Trinket Tuesday. You can join in on this open collab that I started just by showing me your little trinkets, how you use them, how you display them, how you make them. And today I am going to be making a little trinket for your journals. And so this, back when I was a planner girl, I'm still a planner girl, but I was like really into it. My sister and I did PlannerCon, and I used to make little clips and felt clips and stuff. So I used to make tiny little felt objects, and I am going back to the love of making little felt 3D objects. So I thought, because everybody's like so into Sesame Street right now, and Sesame Street was an integral part of my childhood and my daughter's childhood. So in the 70s, my father was in television, and he was in television in Boston, and also we used to go in the city all the time. And he had taken us, we had access to the filming of Sesame Street, and so it just has a place in my heart ever since I was a little kid. And yeah, so I miss my dad. But anyway, so today what I'm going to end up doing is we are going to make this little 3D felt little trinket for your journals or for a bag tag or something like that. And you only need a few items, but there are some crucial items that you're going to need. So I'm thinking about doing this as a series of little handmade felt items. I don't know if you got, maybe just do a series of the Sesame Street characters. I'm not really sure what I'll end up doing as we get closer to Christmas. But right now, I think I'm going to do some Sesame Street characters. And if that's something that you would want me to do, continuing on to do some projects with making the little felt clips and showing you how I make them, giving you some inspiration to make your own, then you know, write down in the comment section if it's something that you would want to see more of. So if you want to participate, use the hashtag Trinket Tuesday, and please tag me at the Preppy Crafty Girl. I would love to see how you display your trinkets, how you use your trinkets, if you make them, if you swap them, how, like if you have anything from your childhood, or if it's something that you have a little collection of. I love seeing everybody's collection, and several people now have jumped in on this open collab that I started. And I want to give a shout out to Meg at Chasing Retro, because she showed her little trinket collection, some of the things she just found, some things from her childhood, and I just loved watching it. And it was so cute. And I'll tag her below, and so that you can go, you know, check her channel out and go see her trinkets. And that was wonderful. So thank you, Meg, for, you know, jumping in on the open collab and tagging me so I could see what you were sharing. It was so much fun going down memory lane. I love it. I've been looking for those little dolls that you showed. I have not found any for you, but I'm going to keep an eye out, girl. I will be looking for them for you. So let's jump in. Some of the things that you're going to need is you are going to need Fabri-Tac felt glue. Why? Because this is excellent for felt to felt, and it's not going to make it hard, dry, and won't be see-through. It's by Beacon, the same company that makes Fabri-Tac, and it is called felt glue. Felt glue. It bonds felt, glitter, pom-poms, and more. The cool thing about this is that it does dry clear, and it won't seep through and won't stain the felt, so you won't even know that it has been glued. Another thing you're going to need is some matching embroidery floss. Now, I went for the 1970s Ernie that I grew up with, and he is like a mustardy, kind of a yellowy brown, and I was able to find that felt, and I found the felt, I think it was at Michael's if I'm not mistaken. So I am using some matching, you want to use some matching embroidery floss. And then I also have the red because his nose is red and we have to make the little nose. If you want to do a pom-pom, feel free, but I wanted it a little more authentic, so I went for the felt. All right, so then the other thing that you're going to need is some kind of way of putting, attaching it. Now you can do two things. I stitch these on, I get these in a bag. You can find them at Hobby Lobby and Michael's and Amazon, whatever. But they are a lobster claw, but they're plastic and they're nice and lightweight. So those are easy to add to your junk journals. And you can just add that right on. You could take a jump ring and you can stitch that on also. Just put a jump ring on here and stitch it on, and I will be showing you how to do that. And then you'll need some fiber fill, which is like this, like stuffing, some kind of stuffing. You don't need a whole lot, you just need a little bit. And that's it, that's all you're gonna, oh, and then you're gonna need some fun fur. So craft fur, available anywhere. If I find what I used on Amazon, I'll put a link. And that is all you are going to need. And the other thing you're gonna need is, I have a Bert and Ernie coloring book, and it's actually not a coloring book. It was like activity book. So these were black and white, and they were actually like, what is the difference between these? Like they had which one of these is not the same? And so I just took him, but you could use a coloring book, and you want to shrink it down to about the size of his head. So you know how to shrink it down is going to be 2.5 inches by 1 3/4 inches. That's how big Ernie is. You're going to need to make several copies because you're going to have to cut them up. So I made several copies, and then I cut out every color is going to be that's different. You're going to need to cut that piece out. So you've got the mouth, which is the red. You have his eyeballs, so I did those, and then I have his nose, and then you're going to cut 2 of the whole head. So you need just one of those because you can just cut 2 of it. All right, and that's it. And you may need some little fine scissors to come in and give Ernie a haircut, and also these little fine, little small pieces. So we're just going to come in here, and I'm going to get 4 different colors. I've got white, I've got this mustardy kind of yellow color, and then I have the red for the nose and the mouth, and then for his tongue I have like a hot pink, and let's see what else, and a little bit of black for the eyeballs, just a little tiny piece that you can cut off to get the little round eyeballs. You only need a little piece for the, you can get so many of these out of a piece of felt. Seriously. All right, then we're gonna need some white, and then we will need some of this yellow color. So I'm gonna take that out, and that is, and then we need a little bit of that pink. So a little piece of the pink, and I just do a little half circle, and then I'll trim it down to fit like so. That's his mouth there, and then we're just gonna cut them all out, and it's pretty simple, and these are fun to make, and it's a great summer activity for you to make with your children. And I'm just gonna, you can either draw them on, they don't have to be exact. This is very forgiving when you go to stitch and when you fill it out, because it will kind of tuck in on itself. So it's very forgiving as far as the shape. As long as you get that iconic kind of oval-y egg on its side shape, you're good to go. And then you just add the ears on, and then we're just going to cut that out again. And save your little bits and pieces because we are going to make other characters. This will be a series if you guys are interested. Like I said before, please write below if you want some more inspiration of how I'm going to make this series of little characters, and if there's anything else you might want me to make for Trinket Tuesday. So much fun creating your own little trinkets. So we have 2 of those. Then I need to cut the mouth, which is, and normally, well, when I was making these to sell them at PlannerCon, I would do an assembly line, so I would just cut a bunch of mouths, cut a bunch of eyeballs, just sit in front of the TV. I'm just doing one right now for you guys. Kind of sliding off the side there, aren't I? And that's going to go on there, but I'm going to wait to do that, and I need the nose now out of the red. And when you cut the nose out, you're going to want to cut about, not quite 1/4 of an inch around give yourself a little bit all the way around, because we're going to stitch around it and gather it in, and we're going to stuff it for his little round nose. Or if you don't want to do that, and you want to use a little pom-pom, that's fine too. But I want that iconic round felt nose that he has. So that's the nose. And then what I do is I mark whose body parts they are. So I know that's Ernie's. And then I'm going to cut the eyeballs out. Now these, I just kept them attached because I didn't want to lose them. So these I'm going to cut exact, and then instead of cutting on top of, I go right underneath that line, and then I'll go and I will clean it up and make it a little more ovally after I get it kind of cut. So I come in here and I will cut that more egg-shaped. That's the thing about Ernie, he's everything on him's kind of ovals, half ovals, or let me see, yeah. And then I'm gonna get rid of that little point. So this is where having a little fine scissor really helps. Okay, there's one. And then I will just take that one and I'll use that one as my pattern. Come in here. So if you go online and you look up Ernie images, black and white, outlined, or coloring book image or something like that, you will find it. Or if you have a book, you can trace around him. If you have like a little golden book with him in it, or a coloring book or something like that at home, there's all kinds of images online that you can use. All right, then I want to make the little eyeballs, and for that, I just made little round. I just kind of went around, and if you grab the felt and you turn it on the scissor, it's a lot easier than trying to maneuver your scissor around. That's what I found anyway. So there's one. I tried putting my crocodile through it, but it didn't. I bet you if you got the paper backed or the sticky backed, it probably would go through the crocodile, but it wouldn't on mine. Wouldn't cut through it. Okay. I use googly eyes for Cookie Monster, but not for Bert or Ernie, I use the felt. I think it's okay. So we got his little iconic eyes. I think I just need to make this one a little bit smaller to match the other one a little bit better. Yeah. All right. So I got their eyes, and then so I don't lose these, I go ahead and stick the little black part down. I think it's really smart to do that because you're dealing with a lot of little small intricate pieces. So I'm just going to take some of this felt glue and put a little dab will do ya. You don't need very much. It's pretty strong stuff. You may want to have a little tray nearby that you can put your little parts in. A little cafeteria tray or something. I want to have a little white at the top. Oop. A little, I need to move this one down just a tad. Like so. So, are you guys enjoying Trinket Tuesday? Have you been having fun? Are you looking at your little bits and bobs around your house differently now? Like, alrighty, so we got that. Now what we're going to do is we are going to work on the nose. And for the nose, I'm going to use some of the red embroidery floss to match. You want to match your felt. Let me see. Oh man, this is where I need a I need more of these needles because I like to have them pre-strung, and so I'm gonna use this hole's a little bit smaller, so I'm gonna use a little needle threader and pull some of this out. You don't need a whole lot. I want to get one of those nice needle threaders, something that's on my wish list right now. Okay. Ah, no, I just broke my needle threader. Oh no, that's bad. How did that happen? There it goes. Well, alright, I don't need to use it again, so, well, I think I have other ones, but I don't need to use it right now. As long as I keep the needle on here. So now what you're going to do is we are going to knot it because we are going to do a gathering stitch. And you want to go ahead and trim that end off down close to the knot. And you're going to work inside to outside all the way around, and you're just going to do a gathering or a running stitch all the way around the edge, just about 1/8 of an inch in, not too far in, because we're going to roll it under. When we gather it and stuff it. So I'm just poking it up and poking it back down, and I'm going all the way around like so. You're not going to gather it yet. I know it's tempting. Alrighty. Down and up. I meet the other end, and that will give me that. I'm going to take a little bit of stuffing, and you really only need a very little bit, and if you have to, you can go ahead and trim it. I do that to get the amount that I want, and then I'll even trim it after I gather it to make sure that I have exactly the right amount. It takes very little. Once you gather, see, you don't need a lot, and that's when you can kind of come in after you gather and squeeze it on there. You can come in and give it a haircut, making sure you do not cut the felt or the embroidery floss. Ask me how I know. So then you're just gonna, you want to just really stuff it and pull it tight. That's why you want to use the embroidery floss and not thread, because this takes a lot of tugging and that, because you want to turn that felt under so you get a nice little ball like that, right? And I can go in and just trim just a little bit more out of there. Okay, then once I have it kind of the shape I want it, or the size that I want it, I'm going to pull, and then I'm going to go to the other side, and I'm going to go through, and I'm going to, whoops, pull it, pull it across, and you're just going to make a ball. So you're just going to keep going from one side to the other, pulling it in and covering the stuffing. Stitch the stuffing in there, and it'll make a round ball, and that's what we want. So I'm just kind of turning it clockwise, pulling, bringing it over, sticking it in across from it, but then going to like clockwise to the next number on the clock. So see that? And I'm almost done. I'm gonna do two more, I think. Go in here, and up through there. And you're gonna pull, tuck, bring it across. Almost there. One more. Make sure you grab the felt, push it through. This is usually the last one is the toughest. If you have to, you can just bring it through half of it and then finish the stitch out once you get it through half. And then you're gonna pull it like so. So I've got my little nose like that. And I'm going to set this aside. I'm not going to trim it. I'm not going to tie. You don't need to tie it off yet because we are going to attach it. So you just want to kind of set the nose aside. And then we're going to, this is where it helps to have a couple of needles, but we're going to work on the head. And so first we're going to knot it. You don't need to trim it. Well, you can. I like to trim them. Doesn't matter, it's going to be inside anyway. So all right, then you're going to put the two pieces together. We're going to start at the bottom but over a little bit, and all you're going to do is you're going to bring the knot inside, so the knot will be inside. Then you're going to do a blanket stitch all the way, and then you're going to leave a little spot at the bottom to be open, but you don't want to cut the thread off because we are going to do some finishing stitches after we stuff this thing. And you're going to stuff it, you're going to put the nose on it, and then we're going to close it, and we're going to do some finishing stitches, bring it back out, and then we'll close it. So you're going to go about every 1/8 of an inch, and you're going to grab both the felt. You're going to pull the thread, grab the loop, and pull, and that gives you that nice running little blanket stitch around the edge. So again, you're going to take the needle, poke it through both of pieces of felt about 1/8 of an inch in, or kind of close to the edge. I'm going to say that's probably 1/8 of an inch, 1/16 of an inch. Pull it, but oh shoot, before I pulled it, I needed to grab that loop and then pull, and that gives you that nice little edge there. We're running edge, and then we're going to go up through the ear. Same thing. Grab it and pull, and then up again, and we're just going to work all the way around. So I'm going to just keep going, and I will speed this up so you don't have to sit here watching me do this whole thing in real time. So here I'm back at where I want to stuff it, and I'm running out of thread, so I'm going to have to end it here. But normally what you would do is you would leave your needle and thread like attached, like long, like I did the nose. But because I've run out of thread, I'm just going to literally just pull it through, and then I'm just going to cut it here and weave it back in so it looks like that. So this is what you have so far. You've got his little head, and now we're going to take some of the stuffing, and you're just going to go in and we're going to get that iconic little like football kind of a shape. So you're going to want to tuck some into his ears, and then we're going to stitch across to give him the ear shape right here after we get it stuffed. So we're just gonna tuck, tuck, tuck. I use little bits, and then I just keep adding. I think instead of adding one big piece, because it helps you maneuver it inside the felt. And if you have to, you can just take something like a wooden skewer, depending on the shape of what you want. This is okay. I'm just using the end of my scissor to just kind of push the felt into, push the batting into the ear, because I want some batting in the ear. You don't want to stuff it so much so that you can see the stuffing there. So you just want to kind of like a little puppy head, and then you can take your you can take a wooden skewer or a pencil or something like that, and you can kind of get the shape that you want, to get that little 3D effect. So there we have it, and then I'm going to come in and stitch this one in a little bit. But you want to leave it open for now, because what we're going to do is we're going to come in and we're going to stitch the nose on. And what you want to do is first we're going to kind of figure out where the mouth is going to be to figure out where the nose is. And you're going to start from where the nose is going to be, and you're going to go work from the outside in, and you're going to work down till it comes out, so you can pull the nose like attached, right, like that. And then you're just going to grab the nose again and stitch it to the front of the face. So you kind of want to hold the nose in place where you want it, and you go underneath the nose, grab some of the felt. You're going to come back down into the head and pull. And if you feel like it's going to come off, you can always go back in with some felt glue, but really like 3 or 4 little stitches kind of holds it on really well, because you're using 6 strings of thread, so it's like stitching it on 6 times. But so you want to kind of work around and make sure you get all the sides. All right, so I feel like his nose is on there pretty good. All my stitching is hidden, and I like the little round shape. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the needle, I'm going to stick it up through the top of his head, and this is where I'm going to add on one of the little clamps, or the, what do you call these things, lobster claw, and I'm going to just stitch it onto the top of his head. Now I do this before I put the hair on, because it's just a lot easier. And then So I just kind of loop it, go through the hole, and then through the head again, front to back. And I do that about 4 times, I think is sufficient. This is 3. Check the back when you go to do it, that you're not like accidentally poking it through the back in the middle. You want to keep an eye where your needle's going. We're going to do it one more time around, and that should be pretty good. And back up through. So we've got like that, and then you got that on the head. Now what you're going to do is take it and you're going to go back down and through to the inside, and we are just going to grab that like so. And now what we're going to do is somewhere in here, all you want to do is knot it. So if you want to bring it back up through the nose, you can, and then go back down. That's fine. Oh, oops, I didn't pull it all the way through. Just to anchor that on there, and then I'll go back through the nose and bring it back out. And then I will kind of just make a little knot in the stuffing, and that is plenty to hold that. And then I'll just snip it, and I will just tuck it in like so. All right, so we got that so far. Now what we're going to do is I've got to go back and pull up some brown. We are almost done, but it's starting to look good. So I need to get some more brown, and I need to pull it through here. I'm gonna knot it. Now, before you go to close, what we have to do is we got to do our little stitches to make the ears. So once that's knotted, we are going to just then come up at the top of the ear, and we're just going to stitch just a straight up down stitch, like just down and through, a running stitch. And then that way it will define Ernie's ears. So I'm going to come through here. I'm going to do another one. Grab that. And again, up. And now when I go down, I'm not going to go all the way through, but I'm going to bring it across to the other side, to the other ear, and I'm going to stitch the ear over there. If you want to go, if you can't get it all the way across because your needle is not long enough, then, but see, that gives him a little stuffed ear right there. And then I'm going to come up on this side. And I may have to, I think I did my blanket. Well, maybe not. Once I get that stitched. Alright. If you find that you did that, you can do a straight stitch. Right there. Let's do the ear. Make sure that you're doing it straight on the back side. That looks nice too, because you will see it if it's hanging on a journal. Alright, that's that. And now I'm going to come back through again, and I think I'm just going to grab some of this. I went a little too wide with my blanket stitch. I don't really like how that looks right there, so I'm just going to grab it, bring it together, come back through and just, again, you won't even see this. I'm gonna grab it. I'm going under the blanket stitch so you're not even gonna see it. And that will close that out so you don't see the stuffing. I did a better job over here. And then I'm gonna come over here, and now we're just gonna shut it. We're gonna just do the same thing. You're gonna do a blanket stitch, so you grab both of the felt. Try not to grab the batting because you don't want to see that at the bottom. If you get some, you can always trim it off. And you're gonna grab it again. We're gonna go through both pieces of the felt, and we're just gonna close the hole up. Super simple, easy peasy. Anybody can make these. The nice thing is that a child could do it if you had a rounded. This one's not pointed and sharp, so you know, like a 10-year-old could make these. If they wanted to have, you need to have a summer craft, or you could make little animals if you wanted to do it for, like, you know, vacation Bible school or something. Fun little summer craft to do with your children. Alrighty, so there we go. We've got Ernie's head. Now let's just get him stitched, and I'm gonna just tie this off. I'm gonna back stitch it, pull it through, and trim it, tuck it in, and there we go. He's so cute, so cute. And you can just, like, once you get him stitched, you can, you know, squish his head out a little more, fluff him up. All right, now comes the character, the fun part. So we are going to put his mouth on, which sometimes when I cut these, I don't know why the mouth is like really super big. So I might need to, I did it off that pattern, but I think I need to make it a little bit smaller. So feel free to trim it up a little bit. That. And yeah, I like that. Okay. So let's glue these on. Again, you want to use the felt glue. I should put it on the piece actually instead of putting it on the head, so that I get all the edges done. Put it on the piece. Like I said, you don't need a whole lot. It's very strong felt glue for felt. Like that. Cool. Alright, and then we're going to come in and do the eyes. His eyes kind of tilt out for his down. His personality. Ooh, and a little more right there. And they kind of tuck under his nose a little bit, so feel free to kind of tuck it under there. And let me get this a little bit better. And then let's get this eye. Glue that on. Tuck that under. So cute! Oh my gosh. He is adorbs. Okay. Now, the fun part is the fun fur. So we're not going to use the felt glue for the fun fur. We are going to actually use the Fabri-Tac because you're not going to see it. So we take a little piece of the fun fur and we're just going to, I cut like a little rounded edge. You're going to need 2 pieces. So we're just going to kind of cut a piece. Oh my gosh. But beware because this is like fur. So it will shed. It sheds when you cut it. But what you want to do is we want to get that little rounded shape So I just kind of hold it up to him like so, and then cut it off. And I save that because some of the other characters, like Bert, has a little tuft at the top of his head. And then we're going to now give him, you're going to hold the fur away, and we're going to cut this kind of rounded at the top. You're going to make like a little C for his hairline. And then we're going to pull the fur away from the backing, and we're going to cut that off. And then you're going to pull the fur back up. See, it sheds everywhere. And then after you get that, we're going to put it on the top like so. And then we'll go in and give him a little haircut at the end. So I'm going to glue up all up here with the Fabri-Tac. I'm going to place the hair on there. And don't worry that the shape's not right yet. You want some longer ones on the end like that, so you kind of pull them down. And of course this will come forward, and then what you're going to do is I go in and I cut at a little angle. So I angle my scissor in, and then that way you get that little pointy fluff. This is where my beauty school training kicks in. Even though I was a beauty school dropout. Okay, so just mess up his hair a little bit. I moved his eyes. His eyes weren't dry yet. His little eyes. There. And then feel free to go in and trim away. This is where if you have a lint brush, it's very handy because you'll get this fur. This fur will go everywhere. So that's the front. You're going to do the same thing, but we're just going to turn around and we're going to do it on the back. If you have any pieces like this, you want to save these because these are great to use for Bert's unibrow. Just saying. Everything else can be scooped up. And we're going to do another little piece here. And I'm going to say I'm cutting it about 1.5 inches. Alrighty. I'm going to pull off all the parts that are loose already. And I'm going to now go in and remember I'm going to do the little rounded bit to do his hairline. And then I'm going to probably trim it there. Alright, pull off all the loose parts. Pull this back against the hair growth, and then you're going to trim this part off. And then pull whatever's loose. That hides that back part. This isn't going to be enough for a unibrow, so it's not bushy enough. Alrighty. Let's see. Make sure that matches up with the front. Oh no, it's not dry yet. Might need to be a little bit shorter. Just keep giving him a haircut till you get what you like. Yeah. Okay. So now I'm going to come back in with this, and we are going to glue it on to the back. Oh my gosh, there's like hair everywhere. And then I'm going to glue it onto the back of him. I'm going to pull some of this kind of down and then out. I'm going to pull the edge out like he normally has. And then I'm going to come in, and this is where I'm going to do that haircut. Sometimes I look from the front. I think it's easier. And I'm going to come in and cut at an angle. Oh my goodness. Super cute. Okay, this guy's got a lot more fur. This guy's got a lot more hair. I'm gonna have to give a little more haircut here. He's a little more hair on this dude. Okay. There we go. Let's get his mouth back on. Just for time's sake, I was kind of moving. Normally would, you know, make a bunch of them, and then by the time I glue the first one on, it's, you know, it's dry. But because I'm just kind of rolling with just the one, I didn't wait, and that's why that came off. So, I need to pull it down a little bit. And there. Alrighty. And voila, there we go. And the really cool thing about them is they each have their own little, you know, kind of little personality, because you're not a factory worker, right? So I mean, you're not putting them in a factory. They're handmade, they're quirky, they're fun, they're great to make as little gifts. Hang them on a bag, hang them on a tag, hang them, you know, on your journals, and it's just fun little trinket that you can make and hand out to your junk journal friends, or just to any friend or your kids. So anyway, that is Ernie, my take on Ernie. I hope you enjoyed this Trinket Tuesday, and I hope you follow along and tag me at the Preppy Crafty Girl, and have a wonderful rest of your day, and keep crafting. Bye guys.
Preppy crafty girl, living in her crafty world. She loves creating junk journals, surrounded with vintage things, wallpaper scraps, vintage magazines, and she's just giddy with glue sticks and golden scissors in her hand. But most of all, she's happy when she's crafting with her friends.